I just finished a video, but I had noise suppression on the video, and it suppresses the sound of the force vector generation that I create. So I've just turned it off, and hopefully this one's better. So this is about internal force, which is a great thing that can be often, misconstrued in the internal arts. In addition, you will find that if this isn't trained and people are just, dressing up in their pajamas and flowing around the park, when a well-trained, they don't even have to be well-trained. Let's just say they've done a bit of boxing and a bit of wrestling. How about that? Or they do MMA and they've done boxing or kickboxing and BJJ. It's normally just those two. They'll come along and they'll obliterate them. You can see that Chinese guy who goes around China smashing people in the face who have done Tai Chi or internal arts. Even Wing Chun gave him a good hiding too. So I'm not saying that this this force generation I'm about to demonstrate would have you win those fights. You know what helps you win fights? Fighting. That's what helps you win fights. You have to practice fighting, and then you get good at fighting. And you also have to, it's already been demonstrated by MMA, which was in the old text anyway. Have you got your long range covered? Have you got your short range covered? Have you got your close wrestling covered? Have you got your ground work covered? Right? Have you got all of them covered? And you can, which one you're really good at, or which one if they're better than you don't want to go to the ground, for example, right? Anyway, we've gone a little off topic, but I just want to call out, right, that just because you know this power generation, it doesn't mean you're going to win against a trained professional. But if the trained professional has this power generation, boy, they're going to be like an ugly force of nature. So remember that part. Now, and in my example, and I don't mean to pick on all those people who got their head beat in, but it really shows when I watch some of them, it's pitiful that people waste their life training in something that has zero effect. Now, what we're focusing on here is what I call the martial component, because it's not necessarily about fighting. It's about you training. And what are you training? Okay, I'm training strength generation, okay, or force generation. I'm trying to put that force into a punch, into a kick. I'm trying to put into a block. I'm doing these things. So it's the training mechanism. Much like anything, that training mechanism would then be applied, and then you'd apply it in the fight to test it, to see if you could do it. So we're stepping back. I'm not going to talk about fighting. We're going to step back, and we're just talking about this force generation. And the other thing I've noticed is it's lacking. It's lacking in a lot of what are called internal arts. And it's a real shame, because there has been this like watering down. And I don't like that. And that's why I'm making this video, so people can be knowledgeable and then train it and, build it back up to, how it used to be. So let's just go through a few misconceptions with internal force. I'm going to put into two categories, and then I'll do a bit of a demo. One category is, and this is just my definition, okay? Nei Jin, Nei is internal, Jin is force, so internal force. There is a part there where you're creating force lines to absorb force from your opponent. And there's more. Once you can do that, then it goes to different levels as you train through those levels. That sort of training, totally get it. And when people say, hey, don't do weight training, if you're trying to achieve that, within the first period, until you fully grasp it and understand what the hell it is, don't do like weight training, because it will disrupt you. In addition, you're trying to get rid of your bad habits, bad posture, bad this, muscles getting fired when they shouldn't. So you actually need a correct posture, because you're basically using your intent to manage your structure. That's really the first stage. But on the other end of the spectrum, if I can say it like that, we have, you might have heard this term Fajin, you know. But I like it, I like to call it explosive force, or like a sonic boom. And in regards to this, if you do weight training or not, I don't know if it really matters, to be honest. And I'm also creating this because people going into those misconceptions that they shouldn't do any weight training, when it's already being proven with, modern sports science, how healthy it is for you and how you gain great strength. Look at the MMA players. Can you name one of them who doesn't do any weight training? It's like, so the weight training is really important. And I also think when you understand this, force vector, the more body weight and muscle mass you have, that's more force that can go from within you to out of you, right? So you could do that by like a sumo wrestler, right? They pile on the kgs, and that's their force vector. But I don't think that's a healthy alternative. That's my point, right? And I'm also, dubious of people saying, I'm studying the internals. That's why I'm not doing any exercise, right? I don't think that's very healthy, and I'm calling it out, saying that they're not related, especially with this. Okay. Now, and also with the Nagian part, like if you've got your posture correct and all those sort of things, why not weight training? But it would have to be a certain type of weight training, right? Can't be bodybuilding. It would be something like powerlifting. They're different biomechanics. Yeah. So and also look at our past, right? People used to have to carry water. They're strong buggers. They had to carry water and bring it back to their home to drink, or they were farming all day, right? You look at farmers, they're super strong, really strong forearms and hands. You look at stonemasons and so forth, they're super strong, lifting these boulders around, right? So you would have had that in the past, and these people still doing these internal arts. So I think people need to, sort of have a bit of a wake-up call if they think that if they, they sit at their desk all day and they drive to work and they're on their mobile phone, that they're going to go and do a bit of, internal work, and you can't lift weights. I'm just going to call BS on all of that. Now, the other is this explosive force. Much like the Neijing, where I said, hey, once you've found the force vector and then it builds from there. This one, once you find it, you can tune it down and make it more internal. And it begins to look like a bit of a magic trick if you want to combine those things. But the legitimate teachers out there who are demonstrating these things, and I'm not going to name them, but it's legit what they're doing. And then there's other ones who are not, but that's life. But what I really like about Wing Chun is the balance of yin and yang, right? That there's this internal softness, but there's also a hardness. And I think that balance like that is really great in this explosive sonic boom force. I also think this force generation is super important for the everyday person. Most people aren't trained in fighting. So all you need to do really is just to be better trained than them, right? There's also other tricks that they might be bigger than you, but you poke them in the eye. You've got the chance, right? And it's a sort of poke where their eyeball pops on the floor. They're not going to be fighting you. And I'm not recommending that. It's just an example that somebody, could be of bigger strength, but you got taught something like that. I didn't just teach it. And they're now blind. So, there's no rules here. And I also look at it like how brutal people can be if they attack you. So you really want to not be there, right? If you get the chance, you get the hell out, you run away. But if you're backed up against a wall, you're not going to be doing some fancy trick on the internet. You really need to know how to generate force. And that's why I think a lot of, internals like to knock other arts. I think that's pretty disrespectful. I think people getting trained in Taekwondo or karate or boxing, doing wrestling, fantastic. I think it's great. I think they're great arts as well. And that would help you in a situation where someone's attacking you, right? Because more than anything, you may not have pulled off the correct technique because it's everything, it can slow down and the adrenal start pumping, and but those training mechanisms came back to you and they fired through, and it probably saved your life. There's always cases like that. Now, what I think is, I think technique's important. I don't say it's not important, but I think what's really important is having the force generation behind the technique. And if you bring those two together, it's masterful, right? And so what I'm focusing on here is that force generation. And if you can learn to generate that force, then you can bring it into your form. And I also think in a life and death situation, or somebody's just trying to harm you, you don't want to muck around, right? You've got no choice. You have to sort of immobilize them or put them down before they put you down. You know what I mean? So one of the things I'm just going to show is this sort of this force that allows you to do that, and you're able to generate a lot more force than what's a good way to put it? Even if you're smaller. So even if you're a small frame, you can still generate big force. That's what's good about it. But don't be confused. If you've got a big frame and you get taught this, you generate even more force. Okay? So if you're going up against someone who's been trained in this as well, you're in a bit of trouble. So you're kind of hoping in this situation that the person's not really trained, right? And we already spoke about the fighting components. There's all these multiple variables. We're just talking about the force. So with that force, you want to be able to generate it. And the way to know you're doing it correctly is you can hear it. You can hear it in your bones and in your joints. So when the force vector comes out, it just strikes, right? And it doesn't, I could do an open punch there. Notice I'm not stepping back and driving through. I'm not getting into a low stance. I'm just standing, and I need to be able to generate force. So if somebody's nose was there and I did a strike like that, it's most likely broken, all right? But people are pretty resilient in fights. So you don't just want to hit them once. People can take, you'd be surprised, you just take those hits. So you want to have something where you can keep generating the force, and this technique allows you to do that. So we're on a Wing Chun channel, so that force could be generated in the Biu Ji with the finger strike. Again, be very careful, don't do that on anybody because you can blind them. And also, if they duck and you hit their head, you're going to break your fingers if you haven't trained them. So it's not like the most awesome thing unless you're training your fingers a number of hours every day. Or it could be, a tan cell, right? So it really doesn't matter what the hand position is. For me, the real important thing is, are you generating that internal force when your technique comes out? And if we look at, say, a good Tai Chi practitioner, they would do ward off and can do that, right? You look at Xing Yi, they can drive through with these different punch structures. You might see them stepping and punching. And if they have, some of them do, have this, it has this like fantastic punch. It could be Bagua, could be White Crane. It doesn't matter. All of them have this internal force generation. You know why? Because we're all human beings. All human beings have the same patternings within their body that they are able to generate this thing. And they found out the most effective way to do it. They taught a number of people that, and for whatever reason, those people didn't pass it on, or they watered it down, or they died. And so now I'm looking at people in Wing Chun and I'm not seeing this explosive force. And I would love to see it. And I'd love to see the general public, when they come in and they get trained, they know they can do it, so that when they go out on the street, they might not be the best fighter in the world. They're not trying to be. They're not trying to get into cage fights. but they know if somebody were to threaten them, they can generate power at a moment's notice to give them the best fighting chance to save their life. And that's something to me that's actually very important. All right, thanks for your time, and I hope that clarified a lot of things and also points you in the right direction for your training. Please note, don't practice that technique that I just demoed if you don't know the precautionary training mechanism to get to it. There's a high chance you're going to snap a tendon, and they're a real bugger that hurts, and they take a long time to heal. Okay, so don't do it. Make sure you go to a qualified instructor who knows these things and go through the training program. Once it's accomplished, you don't have to do this stuff every day. There's just a sort of like light maintenance, and then you can sort of like generate this force at a moment's notice. And I think that's perfect for people in today's age or any age. Thanks very much.